Hey guys, Steven here. Fanatic Perspective. Championship Sunday, guys. Championship Sunday. It's probably the best one I know I've ever seen. Those of you who've watched football, predating myself, please chime in if we've seen, had a better Sunday of football in general, but just seeing two championship games occur in the manner that they did, the level of intensity, the level of playmaking adjustments. All four of these coaches had their highlights. Some of them also had their lowlights. And the level of controversy from the officiating, which we'll touch on in both games. I actually want to start with the Patriots Chiefs AFC Championship game. Patriots defeating Chiefs 37-31 in overtime in Arrowhead, getting just an impressive win on the road for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick as they, as a couple go to their ninth Super Bowl. That's insane. Ninth Super Bowl appearance. Tom Brady at this point, he's played, almost a full, over half a season of Super Bowl games, which is remarkable. And this is probably one of his more defining seasons, to be honest with you, considering the group he had to work with and the competition. Having to go on the road to Arrowhead. And look, I'll be very honest with you guys. I thought the Chiefs were going to win this football game coming in. I thought the Chiefs were going to run the ball a little bit better than they did today, and I didn't expect them to put up another donut in the first half like they did today. Now, obviously, they put up 31 points just like they did in their first match in the second half. But I thought they got a little behind the eight ball, and it closed the margin of the game to where the Patriots, with their good coaching and quarterback play, took advantage and walked away with the win in this game. So let's break it down. I mean, obviously, very early on, the Patriots won the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Defensive line, controlling everything, not allowing the Chiefs to get into, also the creativity with their stunts, timing up their double A gap blitzes, and Patrick Mahomes just never got comfortable in the first half, right? And then, on the other side of the ball, the Patriots go again, use their fullback. I think Sonny Michel had, 20 carries in the first half. Then they sprinkle in James White here. They sprinkle in Julian Edelman, and they play Rex Burkhead as well, and they play off of that. So, they kind of were in command, and it was like old school, kind of game manager Tom Brady from, the first Super Bowl team. But then as Mahomes heats up, the Chiefs wake up. Andy Reid with some brilliant play calls at screen pass, touchdown. You have Damian Williams just making his adjustments and really dotting up. And you could tell they cracked the code of the Patriots defense and the things they were doing. Even though they had taken away Tyreek Hill, it didn't matter. We made our adjustments. That's when Tom Brady now goes into modern day Brady and says, all right, we got to spread them out. And I got to figure it out with, a beaten up Julian Edelman, Rex Burkhead throwing the ball to the fullback, a Gronkowski who has a yeoman's effort today. I mean, you look at the amount of blocking he's asked to do and the amount of shots he's taken throughout his career. I mean, this may be his last season, to be honest with you. I know he's only 29, but just the toll that all of this has taken on his body. But even despite all of that, and that's why I love Gronk and why I think he's the GOAT of tight ends. Ready when called upon. Tony Romo astutely calls it out. Hey, the only Patriots' only way out of this is to flex Gronk out wide and try to get him the ball downfield. That's your best chance of having a playmaker, because the rest of the guys really aren't getting separation, particularly downfield. Chris Hogan struggling catching the football. Cordell Patterson can't catch. Josh Gordon's no longer with us. This is what we have. And Rob Gronkowski comes up with a play every single time you need him. Comes up with the huge third down conversion in overtime every single time you need him. With that being said, the offsides call on D Ford, they had the defense set up. They had the play. Brady kind of panicked, threw it a little high, hard. Gronk doesn't come with the ball. They get the pick, but you get an offsides call. And listen, guys, if you want to beat teams like New England, if you want to beat the Patriots, You cannot beat yourself in those regards. In those critical moments, critical plays, that cannot happen. And that's going to haunt D Ford for a long time. I know that's going to haunt Chiefs fans because that's ball game. That's ball game. We advance to the Super Bowl if we line up and don't have mental errors at key moments of the game. Thought officiating was terrible in this football game. You know, the roughing the passer call was atrocious. I didn't even agree that Chris Hogan caught the first ball that they allowed to go through. But these are the things we just continue to battle with in the league. You know, even on the other side, you know, the Chiefs, I thought Bill Belichick had a valid argument. Chris Conley, that was clearly offensive pass interference on the pick route. He goes and, you know, blows up the dude like a Charles Oakley, and Sammy Watkins is able to get a free release down the field. I mean, the officiating across the board, it kind of mucked up the game a little bit at certain moments. But we have to give credit to Patrick Mahomes and how he responded, and I think he is the MVP this season. He put forth an MVP performance in the second half. Every single time he had an opportunity to answer, because the only time he didn't have an opportunity to answer was overtime because it was a coin toss. But 32 seconds or whatever it was, getting his team in field goal range, an opportunity to win the football game. Now, I do have a little beef with Andy Reid, though. That overtime drive, the Patriots obviously getting in rhythm. They converted 3 third and 10s, I believe. You've got to call a timeout, at least after the second one, definitely after the last one. The defense is gassed. Morale is down. We got to reset, especially going in. I think they were around like the 10-yard line or whatever, maybe even closer in. You've got to reset their window, because once they got to the goal line, it was too late. They weren't going to stop the Patriots. And you can see how physical they were, kind of going back to how physical they were at the beginning of the football game is how they ended it. Andy Reid has to call the timeout there, get his guys some gas, give them a chance, give them a fighting chance to come back out there, and maybe you even throw the Patriots off of rhythm. We've seen, you know, Brady did have 2 interceptions today, should have had a third, and, you know, there was an opportunity to get a stop there, but you have to tip your cap again how dominant the New England Patriots have been. Like it or not, they're in the Super Bowl again, and it creates a good narrative for the Super Bowl because everybody needs a villain to sell, and as fun as Chiefs Rams would have been, and I think it would, you know, the storyline is just as good with Patriots Rams. So let's move on to the Rams, because this AFC title game was phenom quarterback versus GOAT quarterback, right? So now we're going to arguably GOAT coach versus phenom coach in Sean McVay. And Sean McVay, what a performance by you and the Los Angeles Rams. Getting the W 26-23 in overtime in New Orleans. Both road teams winning today. Both games going to overtime. A lot of similarities between these games. Now, I will say this about the Rams. They battled. They battled back. I thought they were overwhelmed at the beginning of the game. Jared Goff looked overwhelmed. Offensively, they couldn't do anything. Todd Gurley's looking, you know, like he can't even run. You know, their only form of offense is my boy Carl Winslow at running back, trying to go downhill. That's all they had. And they figured it out. Sean McVay, just brilliant, making his adjustments, getting the ball, getting Jared Goff, you know, on the bootleg, moving around a little bit, getting the ball out of his hands quicker, leveraging the tight ends. You saw Tyler Higbee today with some big catches. You saw Everett today with some big catches. I like the stuff they did. And eventually they got Woods and even Reynolds, both those guys having outstanding days today. Now, you know, I'm a big Sean Payton fan, and I love Sean Payton. I like Drew Brees. I will say this. There's a gap between, I know Drew Brees is going to retire all the records. There's a gap between Drew Brees and Tom Brady, okay? And it's a wide gap, in my opinion, because when you look at some of the mistakes and the missed throws and the decisions from Drew Brees and from Sean Payton, too, there's a gap between even Sean Payton and I love Sean Payton, but the Belichick's, when you look at these single elimination games, you can't be cavalier about certain things. The decision to throw the ball on first down in that drive was ridiculous. And then they call timeout. So, you know, those things, and I know we're all going to talk about the missed pass interference, the missed targeting, you know, helmet to the head, all that. on Roby and Tommy Lee Lewis. I get it. It was very, very clear that the officials blew it. Probably cost the Saints opportunity, because obviously they decided to make the field goal to win the game. But the Saints at that point were in a no-lose situation after, amazing catch by Ted Ginn Jr. So I get that, and the officials deserve blame, and I understand. I heard Sean Payton in the post game, and a lot of those guys, they're crying about it. If I was a Cowboys fan, or if I was a Saints fan, I'm sorry, I'm a Cowboys fan, but if I was a Saints fan, I would feel the same way. But Drew Brees, you got to win that football game. I'm sorry, you got to win that football game. You're up 13-0. Your defense was playing well. Team on the hills. That's a game where the Saints, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I don't think they've lost a playoff game in the Superdome before. So what Sean McVay and those guys were able to do, coming in there and answering to the physicality of the Saints and making certain adjustments. And it's going to be a very interesting matchup with the Rams and Patriots, because what the Patriots have figured out in this playoffs is how to be physical at the line of scrimmage and set the tone at the beginning of these games. The Chargers tapped out, and the Chiefs responded and fixed a couple things. They added in the extra linemen and tried to dance around with it. The Rams can kind of play straight up, and I'm really curious to see what Wade Phillips versus Josh McDaniels, because with Sue playing the way he's been playing in these last two playoff games, he was dominant against the Cowboys, and he was even more dominant today against the Saints. They think they held the Saints to what? 21 carries, 48 yards rushing. Only 2 yards per carry that they held the Saints to. So Sue, Brockers, Aaron Donald, who should be an MVP consideration, those guys, I think they'll be able to hold up a lot better with the Patriots at the point of attack. But the thing with the Patriots is they're like a boxer that's ambidextrous. They can fight multiple ways. Belichick, Brady didn't go in their bag. However you want it, we can make the adjustments and play football. I just think, though, with the lack of weapons they have on the outside, that's where the Rams are really going to have to button down and say, look, we're not going to let Sonny Michel and James White and Burkhead control this game and then let Brady create off of that. We have to make the Patriots one-dimensional. And then, same thing kind of on the other side of the Patriots. You're going to have to make Jared Goff beat you, obviously, because the Rams are so brilliant in their run game and what they build off of their play action, especially the stuff they do off tackle. Very, very intriguing matchup. Like I said, phenom head coach versus GOAT head coach. How will things turn out? We'll see. I am excited for the matchup, but I don't think we'll get anything to top what we saw today. So you guys let me know what stood out to you. Let's continue the conversation in the comments. Very appreciative for everybody. Hey, let's even talk about what the Cowboys need to do as well to be at this level and to play with these teams, as we are obviously making our evaluations and continue the search for our next offensive coordinator / play caller. So really curious to get y'all's thoughts on everything. Appreciate you guys so much as always. Please follow us on all social medias. I'll have those links down in the comments below. Y'all have a great rest of the Sunday. See you guys soon.